Sixth race weekend of the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Cup, and we're in the oldest, the only natural track on the planet. We're in St Moritz. For over a century, they've been racing from the town of St Moritz down to the village of Celerina at the bottom of the valley, and it's on the same course that we compete today with the men's skeleton competition. Hello everybody, welcome to the most glamorous setting on the planet. I'm Martin Haven. Alongside me from Australian skeleton is Jacqueline Narracott. Jax, you were on the track earlier this week. Bit of a disappointment, is it, or is it up to its normal standard?
It is absolutely amazing this year, like normal. It's a little bit faster because it's actually incredibly cold for a change. So starting off here, going into kink 1, the key for the top of the track is to be nice and relaxed and keep it off the walls, basically. Massively long straights, nice and getting you through kink 2 here, staying ideally sort of middle right, not quite where he is. And then into wall, only 2 pressure corners this year, and then into snake 1. So snake has been a little bit more difficult this year. A lot of people are sliding off a little bit too much, and then into sunny, into Nash and Dixon. Nash is pushing people a little bit too early into Dixon this year, and then into horseshoe, the most probably stressful corner, but some of the most fun. You need to be under the roof and take the straight line out. Into Devil's Dyke here. Again, this is one of the corners that sets up the bottom for right-handers. Key here, nice and relaxed, and keep it as far left as you can, and just let the speed build all the way through. Down the straight, where all you can see or feel is the wind going through your hair. It's the best feeling in the world. And then across the line, and hopefully all's gone well.
Well, it's the longest track we've got. It takes about a minute longer to get down than Innsbruck last week. So how do you adjust yourself to doing absolutely nothing for such a long period of time?
Experience. We come here, we know we're in for a long one, but the fact that it's so fun, it's so smooth, just...
And silent.
Yeah.
And do you actually notice how beautiful the location is when you're on the sled, or are you just looking down at the ice in front of you? On
the sled, not so much. All you can see is a few meters ahead of you. But then when you get off and warming up, it's just, there's no better place in the world. Hanging around in the atmosphere at the top with the fabulous Dracula Club, the start building. There's Axel Juncker, podium finisher last year. Nikita Tregubov, who is currently lying in 4th place in the World Cup standings, led by his teammate Alexander Tretyakov. We've got a good strong field here, 25 sliders. So those who go off early, well, it's a little bit like a refrigerator. When we got in the car this morning, it was minus 22 degrees. It's been down close to minus 27, 28 overnight. So it is very frosty. If you touch the ice, you can feel, and if you touch anything metal outside as well, at this temperature, you can feel your hand sort of sticking to it a little bit. It will speed up in the second heat, and so we could see some very quick times late on. 5th race of the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup, and in his 4th World Cup, off first for the 3rd time is the USA's Austin Florian. The 24-year-old has not raced here before, and he gets the stickiest of ice. Jacqueline Narracott, this is, great exit.
Well, new track record and a new start record, because nobody has raced on this track this season.
Looking nice and comfortable, keeping the sled straight, making sure he's going where he wants to.
And that's really key there, isn't it? If you even breathe, the sled starts to skid away from you.
Oh yeah, it's very easy to drift it. Nice exit, snake 1 there too. Looking good.
Down into Sunny Corner, you'll see later why it's called Sunny. And then Nash and Dixon, named after the 2 British sliders who won Olympic gold in '64, the only members of St Moritz Bob Club ever to do so.
Great exit horseshoe there.
Looking really smooth.
Good speed.
Now, the track is frosty, but that gives the runners a little bit more grip, so more control, maybe.
Yeah, it could feel a little bit different to how it was yesterday, but it seems to be sliding really well, nice and smooth.
112 kilometers an hour, good speed. Down at the bottom, you're motoring here like nowhere else, aren't you? 133. So into the 80s and across the line, little skid. And the track record is established for the season, at least for the next 2 minutes, 109.45. There can't be many times on this track that the first off breaks the track record. Normally they'd have had Swiss Championships at the very least before now, but it was snowing so heavily over the Christmas New Year break they didn't do that.
I think this is the first year for a while where there hasn't been an EC here before we got here as well.
Yeah. So Coach Tuffletour with the sled, Austin Florian the race leader.
Up nice and close to the roof. We'll see you guys probably going a little bit higher today, but that's pretty much where you want to be.
And it's not the height there, it's how you land it, isn't it? How you use that height, and that was nice and clean. Next up, Manuel Schwerzer, his 10th ever World Cup. The 22-year-old from Italy had a big crash here in Horseshoe last year, really hurt himself, and that put him on the back foot in terms of summer training because he was so busy recuperating. And he did confess to me yesterday, he said, I am still terrified of Horseshoe. So let's see how he goes.
Looking okay, sled's drifting a little bit away from him at the moment, but it seems to be controlling it reasonably well. Good exit into Snake.
Raced here in the Junior Worlds in 2018. He's done 3 Europa Cup races, but this is his first World Cup race.
You can see he's a little bit unsteady going into Horseshoe.
And you can see the conservative low line and the fact that he's having to work hard to get it off as well. 25 sleds in the field, only the fastest 20 go through, so you can imagine that Manuel is going to be close to the bubble.
Just not quite the speed that Austin had, and going in late into Gunther isn't going to help either.
And all these little touches on the wall, 2 kilometres an hour down, and again, between Martineau and Portago, those final couple of corners, he shakes his head, 1.3 back. I think that might be all we see of Manuel Schwerzer.
I think so.
1:10.76. You have to get sort of used to thinking about times that are 70 seconds as opposed to 43 or something like that we were posting in Innsbruck.
Yeah, it's a bit of a change in mindset, particularly the first time you get it, you go, okay, I've got to be on the ice for how long?
Yeah. Well, some of the transitions at the top of the track, Jackie, are really different this year from how they've been. And in fact, if you get them right, they're producing higher speeds out of Horseshoe, I think, than we've ever seen.
Yeah. A lot of that will be because of the temperature too, because everything is so much harder this year.
So here's Basil Sieber of Switzerland, the 23-year-old, only his 2nd World Cup start, made his debut a week ago in Innsbruck, raced here in the Europa Cup and in Junior Worlds in 2018. And you think, well, the Swiss know this track intimately. Well, they don't, because it's like a handmade pair of shoes. It's different every year, and they have not raced on it this season any more than anyone else has. It's quite unusual that they've not had at least a week or 2 on ice.
Bit of a flop there off Snake One, which is quite normal for this year.
And Snake and Nash and Dixon, you seem to be losing more time potentially there than I can remember in years.
Yeah, it's one of those corners where if you get it right, you're good, but if there's something slightly off, you're just losing everything.
5900's back, he's ahead of Manuel Schwerzer at the moment. Nice looking form, he's got his shoulders down low on the sled.
Decent speed too, which is good.
Yeah. 1:11, fastest there was 1:12 from Austin Florian of the US. Little brush, no, just about escapes the wall. 1:31.9, close, but Florian was 1:33. And 1:10.31. So again, perhaps he's going to be on the bubble as well. 5:17 start, a little quicker than Manuel Schwerzer, a little quicker on the way down. And at least the dismount here isn't half as dangerous as it is in Innsbruck, is it?
It's a much nicer outrun, this one.
Yeah, the outrun in Innsbruck is the single most dangerous piece of ice on the planet, I think.
100%.
Apart from our car park here, which has claimed a few victims already.
A little bit too high at the exit of Gunther there, which is why he comes across into that right-hand wall.
Yeah. And the speed you're doing there is unlike almost anywhere else. Next up, Jerry Rice of Great Britain, 28-year-old, his 13th World Cup last week in Innsbruck. First career top 10, new start record, 4:89. Okay, so that may well drop again. And in the second heat as well, we'll expect the start area to go quicker because the runners don't stick to the ice so much.
Looking good here, nice and comfortable. Jerry takes it out of wall there.
All three of the British sliders had decent runs. A little rocky in Sunny, Snake rather. Out of Sunny, decent exit.
Fighting it a little bit through here.
Yeah, Nash and Dixon, you could hear the scraping and the scratching. And that's where he's going to start losing time. From here on down, he needs to be perfect to try and keep the speed up. 102 kilometers an hour. Yeah, but Austin Florian was 103.
Yeah, true.
So Jerry is losing a little bit of time, down to 600s from 1400s in front.
This is going to be close.
Yeah, speed at the bottom, 133 is the minimum that's acceptable. Big skid as he came off Sachs. He's going to be behind at the line. Again, the last two corners, Martineau and Portago, are not easy. 109 at 54. Well, again, that shows that Austin Florian, for being first off and everything, I mean, the ice isn't that much warmer now. 4 or 5 sleds in, it won't be for another hour. But Austin Florian had a pretty decent-looking run.
Great run from Austin.
The body language from Jerry Rice wasn't entirely happy with that.
There's only a couple of really big mistakes, this being one of them. Just the hit into Dixon and then it makes going into Horseshoe.
You can see he had his shoulder up out to Sunny. He knew that he was coming in the wrong line. And then down at the bottom, every one of those little rubs down at the bottom cost you. Steaming like racehorses. Racehorses will be here on the ice in the centre of town in the next few weeks. They've got an international polo competition on the frozen lake this weekend. Next up, Germany's Axel Jung finished second in last year's race. That was his best ever result here in St. Moritz. Little steer into kink 1. It's so hard, isn't it, where because there's no pressure, because it's almost flat, if the sled starts to move, then it just keeps moving and moving and moving.
Yeah, and if you tap a wall, it's almost like the wall's got magnets.
All right, 1100's up, 1800's up now. This is a good-looking run so far. Did a little work in the first couple of corners, and that may hinder him later in the run.
Let's see how it shows. Good exit.
Yeah, horseshoe into telephone could be quite damaging, but everybody's got it neatly so far.
Best speed we've had all day too.
So from tree to leap and bridge, that's been a real trouble area as well. Looks like Axel's getting it sorted out. Out to the Sachs curve, little skid but avoids the wall. 134.6, best speed we've seen. Here we go. Out to Martineau and through Portago across the line. 108.81. Okay.
Good take some beating.
New track record for the former ski jumper. So Axel so far this season, 8th in Sigulda, 2nd in the second race weekend in Winterberg, 5th in Altenburg, and then 3rd in Eagles.
He comes out of Dixon a little bit too early, but manages to keep it off the left-hand wall.
When you know you're going in a little bit left into Horseshoe, does that really change how you can attack the corner?
So Horseshoe is one of the only corners in the world where, particularly this year, going in that little bit later is perfect. If you go in too early, it just creates too much of a flatter line.
5 down, 20 to go in St. Moritz. Marcus Wyatt of Great Britain, 20th in last year's race. This is his 9th World Cup.
Another start record.
New start record. And off his best ever World Cup result last weekend. 483 start record. And again, that will probably drop in the next few sleds. 6th place last weekend. And if he could repeat that here, he would be very happy. That looks quite nice through Snake.
I think we'll see a lot of people come off Snake like that.
Tiny little snag on the wall, but neatly through Nash and Dixon.
Holding it well. A little bit lower line through Horseshoe, but gets out reasonably.
Clattered telephone a little bit. And again, with all the British sliders, they've been ahead at the top and then lose time from Horseshoe on down. 111.6 top speed, 113 there from Axel Jung.
Good exit out of Quinta.
Yeah, a long skid though, 132.6, 134.6 from Axel Jung. So he'll be a couple of tenths behind at the line, 4 tenths behind at the line. All right, so that leaves him currently in 2nd place. might not make it as a top 10 run at the end of the heat. We've got a lot of good experience yet to come. Both Dukurs brothers, all the Russians.
Bit of a flop there, but saves it well. A little bit rough going in telephone.
It's that hard take on, isn't it? All of that pressure going into the wall is not helping your speed out of it.
And Horseshoe is one of the keys for speed at the bottom of the track.
7th VAR, 25 starters, 24-year-old Florian Auer. 16th World Cup race for him. Last year, a massive field before the Olympics. He was 31st. I would imagine that he will make up maybe 15 places on that with his form so far this season.
Nice exit out of Kink 1 there, keeping it nice and straight and down the right-hand wall.
Well, he's been in the top 10 once this year in Sigulda. 10th place, his best World Cup result. 2 12ths and an 11th.
Good season.
Yeah. I mean, he was struggling to make the cut last year. The field, in terms of the quality, is no different this year, and he has really stepped up a lot.
It's nice to see. Nice to get a bit of a change in the top 10 every now and again.
And that's the experience, isn't it, Jackie? You know, first couple of years, okay, and then your first year in World Cup, but now he's sort of 5 or 6 years into his sliding career, and that experience helps him every day he's on ice.
Oh yeah, definitely. And once you start getting the results, you then become more comfortable in yourself, and it flows from there. Maybe a good run.
Speed is 103, that's very good. 112.8. Fastest was Axel Junk at 113. He's closing the margin on the guys in front of him.
Great exit there, best one we've seen.
Nice, smooth-looking style. 134.2, that's very good speed again. So he limits the damage at the line and brings himself from a 6th fastest start up to 3rd.
Should be pretty happy with that.
Yeah. And you see there, but by not touching the walls, how the speed continues to build. Every time you bump into... Think about when you're running along. If you bump off walls, it's going to slow you down. Well, it's no different on a sled.
Just hurts a little more.
And walls here are very grippy as well.
Oh, yeah. Nice and high there.
Nice high, and he trusted it, didn't he? Watch the feet. Barely any movement of the hips or the knees. And he knew that the line was good.
That's such a key point here. Just trusting yourself and trusting the work that you've done in the corner.
And you can't trust your instincts if you don't know the track and you don't know the sled. So all of that experience comes in. Here's our World Cup leader. His 101st World Cup start, Alexander Tregubov. 7 of those were in team competitions. New start record 483. The Russian Rocket, our points leader, is really firing strongly this season. Now, Tregubov has got an odd record here. He has never had a podium except when he won the World Championships in 2013. Other than that, 4th is the best he's ever done. Now, that's a bizarre relationship with any track, yeah. Right? He must have half a dozen 4th places in his 14th World Cup here.
A little bit early again out of Dixon.
Not the highest line, little toe steer. Let's get the anchor out, but 1400's 104. Great speed. It's hard to pick the flaws out in this one, isn't it?
It's looking great looking run. Nice and relaxed. He's working a little bit there to keep it left.
Well, maybe 134.9, fantastic speed. Maybe control is more important than keeping it loose here. 108.53, that is a good run from Alexander Tregubov. And if he's not in the battle for medals this year, that will be a surprise. So far this season, 4th, 1st, 1st and 4th. Well, it could be another 4th here, I suppose.
Given the way a few of these guys have been sliding, yeah.
Good looking run from Alexander Tregubov of Russia. Fastest start so far. It was interesting when we went back to Sigulda 14 years after his first race. Instead of doing 5:01s, he was pushing 4:89s. 14 years later. And he wasn't 4 when he started. Son Bin-young of Korea, our Olympic champion, the 24-year-old, won here last year and 3 years ago, and took the silver medal 2 years ago. So he's got good form on this track.
Not a bad record to have.
4:78, there's the new start record, bang. Now, paid training, he tried a different sled a couple of times this year. He's back on his familiar sled, but they are working on new kit, which I'm sure we'll see in Whistler.
Not surprising being first year of the quad. Everyone's testing stuff and trying to figure out.
Well, his coach Richard Bromley, who builds the sleds specifically for Yun, never stops trying new things. 2 tenths up on the track record holder Alexander Tregubov. Look at the form.
104.
Phenomenal speed. And he's just doing nothing, and that's the classic sign of somebody who's got it nailed on. 114, a kilometre an hour quicker than Tregubov. Will be up to 135 at the bottom if he gets a decent exit off Sachs, and he does. Here we go, new track record by a mile. Okay, Martino Portago, not the cleanest, but look at that. Well, that is a shot for victory. Boom, boom, Badger. Happy with that one at the top of the track. 108.2 will be in the 107s. Surely in the second heat, yes. Comfortably, maybe quicker.
Yeah, it's the fastest track we've seen for a good couple of years now.
Yeah. That is a great looking slide as well.
Nice height through horseshoe, trust it.
Watch the toes, look, heels together, barely anything happening, steering with his head as much as anywhere. Great run from Yun. 10th of our 25 sliders here in St. Moritz is the 24-year-old Kilian von Schleinitz. Only his 12th World Cup. He did 6 when he first arrived, and that was back in the 14-15 season. A couple in the 16-17 season, and then a couple this year so far. So he's been in and out a bit of the German team. Brother also a slider, slides in Germany's Luge World Cup squad.
A little bit unsettled, trying to keep it right, going down these straights.
Leaning with the head, come on over, come on over. I don't want to steer you, just come this way.
Which is how you have to control those straights.
Yeah.
Nice exit of snake one there. Bit of a brush on the wall coming into Sunny.
So how's the exit from Sunny? Not too bad now. Compared to Yun and Tregubov, everybody's going to look relatively slow here. This is a good-looking run so far.
Bit of a lower line there through horseshoe, but saves it well.
Yeah, but had to steer off, didn't he? So doesn't help himself in terms of speed. 100.3, 104.6 is the top speed. So the gap is growing all the time. And actually, you can hear, even with your eyes closed, that this is not a tidy run.
Seems to have controlled the bottom 4 right-handers reasonably well, but with no speed, it's kind of hard.
But even down the straight, you can hear, and it's not the chin on the helmet on the ice. 109.81.
Not going to be very happy with that.
No. Well, pick the bones out of that. There are an awful lot of bones to be picking through. Pretty much committed all the mistakes you can make on this track. And he slots in behind Jerry Rice, ahead of Basil Sieber.
Well, like relatively difficult bits he seemed to get okay, but the brush going into Sunny is definitely what would have killed any momentum he had going in.
Sunmin Yoon Korea leads by 1/3 of a second from Alexander Tregubov. Axel Juncker further third back. 10 down, 15 to go here in St. Moritz. At the oldest and the only artificial ice track on the planet, the most experienced of all our World Cup sliders, Thomas Dukurs, the 37-year-old, starting his 116th World Cup in men's skeleton. And a 4.95 again. There are guys that are in their 10s and 20s of starts who would kill for a start that the Dukurs brothers can produce in their mid-30s.
Definitely. I'd love to have some of that speed.
4.95 compared to Sunbin Young's 4.78, so he needs absolute perfection. Little rocky snake 1 to 2.
Bit of a tap going into snake 1 as well.
Okay, nicely through Sunny into Nash and Dixon. There's the bus going down the road. Originally they slid on the road before the bobsleigh track was built. It was all frozen in the late 1890s.
Good speed coming out of horseshoe. One of the fastest we've seen.
And again, imperious form from the Dukurs brothers. They just look so nailed on the sled.
They make it look so easy.
Yeah.
Top speed.
Speed at the bottom, 135.6. That's really flying. Quickest speed of all. How close will he be? Top 3. Third at the line, 4100s back, so 2/10 ahead of Axel Jung. And that was good recovery, because those errors early on, Jackie, you know, they look so insignificant, but when you've got little speed, they take away a large percentage of what you've got.
Oh, definitely. Like mistakes, like little brushes of the wall at the bottom will cost you less than what the ones at the top will.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of the brush on the wall, so it sends him that little bit later into snake one, but controls it reasonably well.
Yeah. And again, that experience, he doesn't panic, he knows exactly where he's going to end up, knows he doesn't have to steer. But we've just seen the most experienced slider on the planet, now the second most experienced, but the most successful. Last weekend, his 51st career World Cup win.
Oh, he's pushed out.
Oh! Oh, now, how can he recover from that?
That's disaster.
Now then.
But again,
you know, when you're pushing so hard as Martins and Thomas do, as all the fast guys do, occasionally that will happen. And the start is a little narrower than it's been over the last few years. So everybody's sort of starting it with their runners in a different groove. And
it's one of the starts this year where a lot of people are going left run or right groove, which this is the only track in the world where that's possible.
So this is his 114th World Cup race. He's won 51 of them. This may not be win number 52.
Still 103 kilometers an hour out of Horseshoe, even with that start, is amazing.
You know, this is still a run that almost everybody else would give their eye teeth for.
Oh, yeah.
Ninth fastest start, but 18th, beg your pardon, 10th now. So he's ahead of Manuel Schweitzer and Basil Siebert. He needs to get another couple of sleds behind him, ninth. All right, so he's ahead of Kilian von Schleinitz. All right, so he's in the second heat. You've got to think as likely as not, but he's not going to be on the podium from there.
Short of a disaster from a few other people, it's not going to happen this year, which sucks. Like that run was amazing.
Needs a disaster from a couple of dozen, I think.
Yeah.
So I wonder what we're going to see again. Oh, well, here we go. Look, like just 2 steps in.
Almost saves it, but just doesn't quite manage to get back in the grooves.
And here now, all of those experience synapses are firing, going, how's this going to hit? Where am I going to get it back?
Yeah, but then he's one of those people where you can see even his eyes, like the minute he was back and going through King 1, it was nice and relaxed, and it didn't affect him.
Focused again. Nikita Tregubov, 23-year-old. His 29th World Cup start. Junior world champion here in 2018. One of his big results here. And a 4.97 start, that's right in the frame. 2/3, a 4th and a 6th position here over the last 4 years. And with at least one Dukurs out of the frame, this could be a medal-winning weekend. He was quick in training as well.
Very quick in training. There's been a few guys who have been around about the mark.
Well, interestingly for Tregubov, only pushed the 8th fastest start so far.
It's unlike him.
Yeah.
Nice fight through Horseshoe. Bit of a brush, but no issue.
Trusted that as well, didn't he? 104.7, good speed. That's the fastest of all. Better speed out of Horseshoe even than Sun Bin Yun. But he's 4,900s back. Now he's stopped the bleeding. 114.5, still faster than anyone.
Letting it run nicely, building up all that speed.
He's a tall athlete, he's got mass as well. 136.6, a kilometre an hour quicker than Thomas Dukurs. And at the line, second, 108.50. So where does that leave him compared to Alex? 300ths of a second between Tregubov and Tretyakov. And still Yun 3/10 clear. And most of the big guns that you'd expect to find in the top 3 have now had their first heat.
Nice height there through Horseshoe. And then that's about as early as you want to get on the telephone.
Nice slide. So Nikita Tregubov in second place. Now Carl Brown from the USA. Caleb Smith, you could see there with the sled, coaching, returning to the American setup after years coaching for Great Britain. So Carl, 29 years old, his 11th World Cup. And he raced here twice in the World Cup in the last couple of seasons, 16th and 9th. So he showed good progression last year with that experience, 5:04.
Looking good, fighting it a little bit, but nice and settled now.
Now his teammate Austin Florian is tied for 7th with Florian Hour. There's some synchronicity for you, 2 Florians together. Where's Kyle Brown going to end up? 11th fastest at the start, 10th already. Nice, quiet top to the track.
Good looking run. Let's just see how much speed he's managed to build.
Well, if he can match last year's 9th place finish, that'll be comfortably his best result of this World Cup season so far. 10th place on the splits.
Bit of a brush there.
Yeah, you heard it as much as saw it, didn't you? 1:11.6, well, a long way shy of Tregubov, Tregubov and Yun, but pretty decent top 10 speed. Up into 9th place on the splits, nice and clean, out of Sachs down the long curve, little rub between Martinao and Portago, and 10th place. Yeah, hurts physically because of the speed and hurts your time as well, which is actually what you're more concerned about. You'll take the knocks if you get a fast run.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Doesn't stop the making tomorrow, but a top 10 result will certainly help that a little.
Oh, yeah, it tends to ease the bruises a little bit.
Yeah. So you saw Tuffy Latour holding up both hands, so 10th spot at the line for Kyle Brown.
Sled moving a little bit in the grooves there.
Nothing like last week in Innsbruck, where it was zigging and zagging. It had so much snow in such a short period in Innsbruck that getting down to any ice was tricky enough. So top 10 for Kyle Brown. Now, here's a man who might spring a big surprise, big being the operative word, and that works here at this long track. He's not the fastest starter, Vladislav Heraskavich, but he is big and strong, and now that's what Martin's Dukurs needed, is for the sled to come straight and pop into the groove again. 5:31.
That's about what he's been starting in training. Had a great week of training, been one of the fastest guys down this track so far.
And just look at it, tracking straight down into wall.
It's amazing.
Yeah, but 15th at the top.
Long way back already, but let's see, he's been building speed really well all week, so hopefully he can do the same thing.
Well, his results this year, 9th in Sigulda, then 17th, 14th and 22nd. Eagle's the worst track for a slow starter.
Oh, early, saves it. Nice.
He's raced here at every level, Europa Cup, Intercontinental Cup, Junior Worlds and last year's World Cup race.
This is where he should start to build some speed now.
Yeah, 1:13.8, that's good speed.
Bringing it back.
That is top 6 speed. Now, can he end up with a top 6 run? This is what he's been doing all week, isn't it? Starting off slowly and just huge speed, 1:35.2. That's about the 3rd fastest through the speed gun at the line. 10th place, 1:09.62 for a sled that popped the groove. Can't argue with that. Well, he didn't produce top 3 or 4 run, but again in training, he wasn't so far behind the fast starters. They've all pulled out, you know, a race start that's a couple of tenths quicker.
Yeah, you've got Yun pushing, well, almost 3 tenths,
yeah,
half a second faster than what he did in training.
Yeah. But Vlad recovers that nicely. You saw his dad watching Mikhail in the background. So we are 15 into our run. Sunmin Young leads from Nikita Tregubov and Alexander Tretchikov. Fast getaway in St. Moritz for 23-year-old Wing Chun Kung of China, his 15th World Cup race. Last year he was 13th. Long, rangy figure, and look how low the chin is compared to anybody else.
Shows he's comfortable.
Yeah. Getting the shoulders right down, trying to be as small to the air as you can.
Aerodynamics is absolutely everything on this track. With such long straights. Nice exit there, entrance into Snake, bit of a flop though.
He's got a great body for skeleton, like Gregor Staley. Relatively narrow shoulders, long and lean. The more you can be like a fish on the sled, the better it works, I think. Little busy coming down into Horseshoe.
Looks a little bit uncomfortable, like he's fighting the sled a little bit. And that shows in the speed.
Last year 13th, he's hovering around that position at the moment. 1:12.3 to 1:14.5 of Tregubov. Nice at the bottom though, and that'll help him keep the speed on board. 1:34.0, that's pretty decent. And across the line, 12th place. That's where he started, that's where he finishes. 1:09.67. It was kind of busy at the top, wasn't it? A little bit mistake-laden, but calmed down as he got into the run.
A lot of that could be, if he's not quite comfortable going through horseshoe, then you know what's coming up, and you know you just set it up right.
Well, here out of Nash and Dixon.
Brush of the wall.
He's pulling that right shoulder down, a left shoulder up to try and steer it away. And it was a bit of a medium line in horseshoe as well. Well, he's ahead of Martin's Dukurs. Normally that would mean almost a guaranteed medal. Today, not the case. Next up, my broadcast partner for the women's race later on today, Greg West of the USA. Finished in 13th place here last year. This is Greg's 15th World Cup start. Unique low-pressure fingertip push.
It's an interesting pushing style.
Yeah, well, it allows him just an extra centimetre or two where he's not bent over so much and puts much less weight on the sled, so he thinks much less likely to pop the groove.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Whatever works for you.
Exactly right. This is such an individual sport, isn't it? All shapes and sizes, weights and heights.
Which is part of what makes that sport good. Like, there's no one particular body shape that you have to be.
Nice looking exit from Sonny. 13th fastest push. Ooh, little bump Nash and Dixon. He was up to 11th on the splits. Needs a good landing here. Gets one. Aiming towards the top 10. Teammate Austin Florian with the unwanted first draw is still in 7th place. Good speed from Greg. 1:12.1, not bad. We saw Heraskavich just before with 1:13. Now, if he can keep it clean at the bottom, 1:33.5 is not bad. Oh,
that's
big hit. 12th at the line, 10th at the line, 1:09.6. Now, without that hit, he would have been maybe another 10th quicker.
He'll be happy with that, though. Like, top 10 at the moment is a good run for him.
And ahead of Vlad as well by a whole 200ths of a second. 400ths ahead of teammate Carl Brown, 700ths ahead of Gung of China, 1700ths ahead of Martin's Dukurs. Yeah.
Second heat's going to be interesting. There's a few sort of tight gaps coming in now.
Yeah, yeah. Cleaning up those little errors like his exit out of Dixon and out of the horseshoe are going to be absolutely critical in the second heat, because you can pick up a few spots here. It is achingly cold, and when you've got a bit of a head cold and a bit of an infection like Dave Christian of Canada, this is not good conditions. Ooh, just about got on.
Made it, that's all that matters.
Just missed the cut in last year's race, 21st place.
Had a really good week of training this week. Nice and relaxed.
And he also missed the cut last time out in Innsbruck. Best result this season, 11th place in Altenburg in the snow. And like a snow race, this track should help him because he's tall, strong, carries a lot of mass on the sled.
Reasonable looking run, bit rough through snakes, but nice high line through horseshoe.
And takes the speed beautifully down through Telephone and Shamrock. Here we go. 1:02.6, not the best speed, but he's already up into the top 10 off a 15th fastest start.
Letting him build now nicely.
And if Grizz can feel the love from the sled now, this could aim him towards the top 6 or 7. Big elbow out there, and again. 1:33.8, very good speed from Dave Christian.
Good exit out of Martineau.
Yeah, that'll keep him at 7th at the line. That's a fantastic run from Grizz.
We're stoked with that.
Yeah. He'll still be coughing and snottling down at the bottom. He sounded very ropey at breakfast this morning. But, well, I'm not sure what time it is back in Canada. Quite early, I'm assuming. Wife Jess may be away with their new baby daughter, Aurelia. If she's not, I'm sure she'll be tuning in for the second heat. Look at the height there. Did he brush the ice? I don't...
Yeah, just a little brush. That is as close as you want to get to that roof.
And look at the landing as well. Nicely done. Oh, look, he looks just rotten, doesn't he?
Not happy.
World Championship bronze medalist in 2013 there, Sarah Reed with a sled. Christoph Grotheer finished up in 7th place in last year's race. celebrating his 40th World Cup start here this weekend. One career win, that was in Altenburg a couple of seasons ago. 494, that's a good start.
Nice and calm. Slide's not waving about too much.
No. When you can just see the runners coming straight towards you, that's really good news. 3200s back, most of that from the start.
Nice exit snake one there.
Hear how quiet he is. You can just about hear him whistling past.
It's the best part about this track. All you can hear is the wind going past your head.
Little chatter of the runners on the ice.
Nice horseshoe.
Nice stuff. This is potentially top 6 for Christopher Grotheer. Just seen Dave Christian of Canada slide into 7th fastest ahead of Austin Florian by 200s.
Missing the speed that Chris had.
Yeah. 1:11.7, not quite as much from Grotheer. Good exit out of the Sachs curve though. 1:34.7, very good speed at the bottom from Christopher Grotheer of Germany. Top 6 at the line. Yes. It's almost a smile from Coach Dirk Matchens. A high five as well. I think that's voluminous praise. Yeah, Christopher Grotheer, 6th place. Teammate Axel Jung in 5th position. He's 3700s ahead though, so there's still some big gaps that could be filled up.
Reasonable height there, not quite the height we saw of Grizz.
Little knee steer to get him onto the right line for telephone, but when you're diving off horseshoe, that's acceptable.
Yeah.
Here is our 20th of 25 starters, 28-year-old Ronnie Hoefer from Switzerland, his 31st World Cup start. Last year's race, 19th. And again, he's been hovering around 18th and 19th in his 3 World Cup races here. 493 start, right with Christopher Grotheer, who we just saw.
He's another one who's been having the top 10 runs all throughout training as well.
Yeah. He's had a little bit of a problem landing it nicely off horseshoe, so let's see where he is today.
Today is the only day that matters. Let's see if he gets it right.
And again, no added advantage of being Swiss. The track has barely been open all year. Not bad. Top 4 run at the moment from Ronald Hoefer.
Controlling it nicely, looking nice and comfy too, going into horseshoe.
And smoothly into telephone. You hear nothing. 1:02.5. Not great speed.
But up there with quite a few other guys.
Yeah. Top 6. Drifting away a little. You can hear lots of steering and scratching going on.
Gotta let speed build.
Come on, Ronnie. Out of Sachs. Straight. Oh!
He's doing so well.
1:32.8's not bad. Still going to be a top 10 run. That's halved his normal position. 8th place.
Nicely done, Ronnie. We're stoked.
Well, and errors. Yeah, you see, he's not, because there are too many errors crept in that he should have been able to leave behind him in training. But compared to, yeah, what are his previous results here? 18th, 19th, and 19th in his previous World Cup appearances. So that's a huge leap forward for Ronnie Hoefer. And this little rub here, that might have made the difference between where he is in 9th place and 8th place, and maybe 6th position. 20 sleds down, Sunben Jung leads, 5 still to go in St. Moritz. So now you've got to bump somebody out of the race to get in. First of our go fast or go home sliders in St. Moritz is 28-year-old Briton Jack Thomas. Last week equalled his best ever World Cup result with 15th in Innsbruck. Didn't race in the World Cup here last season.
It's nice to see him looking a little bit happier after last weekend's result.
Yeah. Well, didn't race here in the World Cup last year. The season before he did, very early in his World Cup career, and he finished in 18th place. But he's been quite happy with his practice so far this week. Let's see if he can turn in a really nice, confidence-boosting first heat. Good so far. Nash and Dixon treated him all right. Down into horseshoe. He's well on the left. Not bad. Onto telephone.
Holding his own.
Shamrock. Devil's Dyke. And then you really start to build up the speed through tree and leap. Ooh, gets pushed away a little. They're tricky this year, aren't they?
Brings it back though, which is good.
Gunter Sachs as well. The final corner gets a nudge in, gets a hit out. And that's going to drop him from where he is at the moment, which is potential top 6, top 7, down perhaps to 10th place at the line. Eighth place, 109.30, 200s in front of Ronald Orderset. So that is a very good first heat from him. And out of the race is Manuel Schwerzer of Italy. And on the bubble, Switzerland's Bobsleigh. Now, part of the reason it takes everybody a while to stand up is we're at over 2,000 meters of altitude here. You're knackered by the bottom, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah. Particularly when you've been on ice for like almost a minute 10.
Yeah. Brush on the elbow.
I understand that. The balls hurt.
They do indeed. Good run from Jack Thomas to go 8th. So next up, Kevin Boyer, Canada. 20th World Cup start for the 25-year-old from Edmonton, Alberta.
Happy birthday to his dad, too, Bill, back home.
And, Mum and Dad, Banker Mum and Dad always get sponsorship kudos on his helmet. 8th fastest starts with a 4.94.
Looking good so far. Managing to hold his own, try and limit some of the damage. A bit rough going out the snake there, but like quite a few people today.
2 previous World Cups here, 23rd and 17th last year. So if he makes another sort of 6 or 7 step improvement on that, he'll be fringing on the top 10.
Nice.
And right now,
well.
8th place run, 1:03.0, good speed.
All right, here we go.
Yeah. Track is definitely getting a little quicker as the morning progresses. Some of the frost coming off it.
Sunshine coming. Nice exit there.
This could be top 6 at the line. Marcus Wyatt is in 7th. He's ahead of him at the moment, challenging Christopher Grotheer.
Wow.
Wow, it is top 6. Happy birthday, Dad.
Great run, Kev.
So really good opener. He is in, Bobsleigh is out, and on the bubble now is Kilian von Schleinitz.
Got to see a smile from Kev after that, surely.
Really? Oh, wow. There you go. You see, if it feels good, you still don't know how everybody else has felt, so...
Yeah. And particularly, like, because we're so critical, and we know where we've made little mistakes, and eventually...
Happy birthday. Love you.
All right. 3 to go. Alex Hansen of Norway, the 31-year-old, in his 13th World Cup race. And again, limited in terms of ice experience, and particularly here in St. Moritz. Last year was his only ever race on the track. Coach Brian yells him off at the top.
I mean, Kristen.
No, Brian, that's the family name. 4.96, he always starts well. Now, if he can carry some of that in his cupped hands down to the bottom of the track. Here we go, that's nice and quiet. Stay away from the wall.
Brings it back nicely in the wall.
Not bad. So far this season, Alex Hansen, 23rd, 20th, 22nd and 24th. Little toast here, out of Sunny rather. And down into Nash and Dixon. Here we go, little rub into the Kreisel.
Much better.
Now, been coached by Kristen Bromley, I imagine that basically the sled is set up loosey-goosey all the time, and Alex has just got to learn how to handle it. Hits a wall. He was in the top 12. 1:10.8 is decent speed. But how much are these little mistakes going to cost him?
Starting to look a little unsettled on the sled.
Yeah, 1:30.0. This could still be 13th, 14th at the line for Alex Hansen. A big run. Oh, where did that go? 12th out of Sachs, 21st at the line. Well, all of that wriggling and writhing down the straight did enough to take the speed out. Wow, that is brutal. So Alex Hansen does not make the cut. That's a shame. It was looking so good.
Yeah, it was just a little bit unsettled coming into those bottom 4 corners.
Yeah. So there is Alex Hansen. We have 2 to go, starting his 80th World Cup race. Spain's Ander Mirambel, still not firing 100% fitness. Donna Crichton up there on the wall, yelling him off. I think Ander must have been around when Donna Crichton first started, 5.40. So he had a bit of surgery in the summer. He's still recovering physio-wise. Last year in 18th place in the race. Best here was the previous year. He finished in 14th spot in the World Cup, and that again was a packed field. So 24th start. Let's see if he can make the cut on his 80th World Cup race.
Reasonable looking run so far.
Yep.
I've managed to avoid the brush going into horseshoe.
Keeps it nice and quiet. Good height. Actually, nice quiet steer over, a little late exit. Come on, Ander, breathe. 1:02.5, that's not bad speed. Still not in the race. 22nd on the splits.
Good speed coming down here. See if he can keep it.
Skiddy though. And again, fighting it as we saw from Alex Hansen, 1:34.1. Is it going to be enough to put Ander Mirambel in the race or not? At the line, 20 seconds, doesn't make it in. Well, congratulations to him anyway on his 80th World Cup start. And he's now busy digging into archives that the Federation don't have on their website to add up all his previous Europa Cup races as well. So Ander with lots of experience on this track, raced in the World Champs in 2013 and has had 10 previous World Cup starts here as well. But without the guns at the top to really fire you quickly onto the ice, you're always playing catch-up.
So it's one of the tracks where the start isn't quite so crucial, but it definitely helps.
Well, let's see what this boy's got. World Cup debutant Artem Drozdov. Vladislav Marchenkov is off training up for next week's World Championships. The 22-year-old, his former sporting career was volleyball in the school team. Been sliding for 4 years. Raced here once in January last year in Europa Cup. Has never been on the track before. And in his claims to fame, in his biography, he says, I can eat and not put any weight on. That immediately wants everyone else in the field and most of the female bobsleigh athletes to want to kill him.
Yeah.
5:03 getaway. Let's see what he's got. His racing career so far, 15 Europa Cup races, 3 podiums. And still in the top 15. Now 13th place on the splits. This is a neat looking run for one so fresh to the sport. Head up though, you can see he's not confident about where he's going. He's really looking for the corners.
Starting to fight it a little bit down here just to try and keep it left.
Top 10 run from Artem Drozdov. This could be a huge debut for the Russian. That's going to cost him 2 or 3 places at the line. No, it doesn't. 1:09.25, 8th place in his first ever slide on camera. Well done. And that bumps out Kilian von Schleinitz, Martins Dukurs, 20th. Clings on by the skin of his teeth. It was Ander Mirambel or Martins Dukurs, basically, to make the race. And Artem Drozdov, there you go, 22 years old, 8th fastest. Now, he had slightly faster ice than those who came earlier in the run, but he used it. And Jacqueline Haricott, that's really critical, isn't it? You've got to be able to do it.
Oh, yeah. You could be on the fastest ice in the world, but if you can't control it and can't relax, it's not going to make a difference.
So nice looking slide from our World Cup rookie. He makes the field where 5 others don't. And he will go off right towards the fast end of the second heat. Last to go in the second heat will be Sunbin Jung of Korea, our first heat leader. And Jung, despite everybody else's best efforts, still with a 0.3 of a second advantage to carry over into the second heat. And he really had a superb first run.
Looking to clean up a couple of those really tiny mistakes, but down the bottom. So see how fast he can go run to.
The Olympic champion leads from Nikita Tregubov and Alexander Chechikov. Thomas Dukurs in 4th, Axel Jung in 5th position, Kevin Boyer tied for 6th, tied for 8th, Marcus Wyatt. Are we in Eagles again? And Artem Drozdov. There's another couple of ties behind them as well, because you've got, where were we? Yeah, Florian's Auer and Austin Austin Florian and Florian Auer are tied for 13th. And there are tiny margins all the way down the order. Martins Dukurs will be first off, not last in the second heat. We'll be back on air at 11:15 Central European. That's 10:15 Greenwich Mean Time. Join Jacqueline Maricott, me, Martin Haven, and the IBSF TV crew for the second heat to find out if the Olympic champion will claim his 3rd win in 4 years in St. Moritz.
Yeah.